August 22nd, 1985. Manchester Airport, 7:14 in the morning. The fire is out. The firefighters enter the cabin. Rows of passengers, still in their seats. Seatbelts fastened. Hands on armrests. No burns. The fire never reached them. They died sitting upright, breathing, still, as if they simply decided to stay. 55 people, most of them within 5 rows of a working exit. The exit was right there. Why didn't they try to survive? British Air Tours Flight 28M, a holiday charter, Manchester to Corfu, Greece, 137 people on board. Families, kids, people with beach novels in their bags and sandals on their feet. A short holiday flight. A Thursday in late August, the most ordinary kind of morning. At 7:12, the engines spool up. The runway stretches ahead. 137 people settle into their seats. 36 seconds later, at 7:12 and 51 seconds, the left engine explodes. A fragment of metal punches through the wing. It ruptures the fuel tank. Burning jet fuel sprays across the runway. The captain slams the brakes. 9 seconds later, the plane stops. For a moment, it seems like the worst is over. It isn't. The captain made the right call. He turned the aircraft onto taxiway Link Delta to clear the main runway. Standard protocol, exactly what he was trained to do. But when the plane stopped, its tail was pointing directly into the wind. A 13-kilometer-per-hour breeze. Barely enough to move your hair. Barely noticeable on any other day. But it was enough. The clock starts now. At 7:13:05, the cabin crew tries to open the exits. The left overwing exit is already engulfed in flames. Gone. The right overwing exit jams. A flight attendant pulls the handle. Nothing. She pulls again. Seconds disappear. 2 of 4 exits. Gone. Before a single passenger has moved. What remains? 2 working exits, both at the front, both feeding into a single aisle. That aisle is 50 centimeters wide. Back in the cabin, black smoke is already pouring in from the rear. Not haze, not a thin cloud. Thick, absolute darkness. The kind that doesn't just block your vision, it reaches into your lungs and takes something that doesn't come back. 40 seconds after the plane stops, visibility drops to 0. Not dim, not low. 0. The smoke layer starts at the ceiling. It pushes down, toward the seats, toward the people sitting in them. At 7:14:45, 90 seconds after the plane stops, the air inside the cabin will no longer be survivable. 90 seconds. That is the entire window. Now, row 8, forward cabin. His name is William Howard, seat 8C, healthy, uninjured, 4 rows from the working exit. He is not moving. He is watching the smoke fill the cabin the way you might watch rain through a window. Still, detached, like it's happening to someone else entirely. He has already used 15 of his 90 seconds. The exit is 4 rows away, and right now, he doesn't move. The question is, why? And the answer has nothing to do with aircraft. It was there before the first human being ever stood upright, 2 million years back. Open grassland, no cities, no aircraft, no runways. A human ancestor moves through tall grass. Hunting, or being hunted. It's not always clear which. Then a sound. Close. Wrong. The body stops. Not a decision. Not a choice. The body simply stops. Muscles lock. Breathing slows. Eyes widen. Every resource in the nervous system redirects to one chain of questions. What is that? Where is it? How close? This is the freeze response. And for 2 million years, it was the single most effective survival tool the human body had. Here's why. Most large predators, lions, leopards, the things that hunted our ancestors across open grassland, have vision built around movement. A still object in tall grass is not prey. It doesn't exist. It's part of the landscape. So you freeze. You become invisible. You wait. And most of the time, it worked. The threat passed. The predator moved on. The person in the grass survived to pass that code to their children. 2 million years of freeze and survive, written so deep into the human nervous system that it doesn't require thought, doesn't require a decision, doesn't require the prefrontal cortex at all. It's older than language, older than tools, older than fire. And on August 22nd, 1985, it walked onto a Boeing 737 at Manchester Airport. But the freeze response is not the first thing that happens. Before it activates, there is something quieter, something that costs even more time. The brain tries to make this normal. Psychologists call it normalcy bias. When the brain encounters something catastrophically outside its experience, it doesn't immediately accept reality. It searches for a familiar explanation. Smoke filling the cabin? Probably condensation from the air conditioning. A loud bang during takeoff? Turbulence. Has to be turbulence. People raising their voices? They're overreacting. Someone would tell us if it was serious. The brain is not stupid. It is protective. It has spent an entire lifetime building a model of a world where aircraft do not catch fire while you are sitting inside them. When reality violates that model, the brain does not update instantly. It resists. It delays. It searches. In Seat 8C, William Howard has used 30 of his 90 seconds. He has not moved. His hands are on the armrests. His eyes are open. The smoke is at shoulder height in the rear of the cabin. He does not know how much time he has left. Nobody in this cabin does. That delay can last 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds. In a cabin where you have 90 seconds to live, 30 seconds of normalcy bias is everything. And by the time the brain finally accepts that this is real, the freeze response is already waiting. William Howard has passed that point. His brain has accepted reality, and now it has locked him in place. But that's only the first level of what's happening inside him. The second level has nothing to do with psychology. It's older, and it's already in his blood. Here is what the freeze response feels like in the body. William's eyes see the smoke. His nose detects the burning fuel. He can hear screaming from the back of the cabin. Every sensor in his body is sending the same message at the same time. Get out. Now. And his body is completely silent. Not numb. Not confused. Silent. Like the signal is being sent into a void. He will later describe it as watching everything through glass. Present. Aware. And completely unable to act. This is what's happening inside his skull. The amygdala, the brain's ancient threat detector, has flooded his system with fear signals. The prefrontal cortex, the part that could form a plan, find the exit, remember how to unbuckle a seatbelt, has been shut out. Neuroscientists call this an amygdala hijack. The rational mind goes dark. The ancient survival system takes over, and its oldest instruction is simple. Do not move. His fingers are wrapped around the armrests. He can feel the fabric, the pressure of his own grip. His knuckles are white and he cannot release them. William's muscles are locked, not from injury, from tonic immobility, a fear-induced paralysis where the body physically refuses to obey voluntary commands. He wants to move. The signal from his brain to his legs is simply not getting through. This is not a metaphor. This is a documented neurological state. The same state is observed in animals cornered by predators. In tall grass 2 million years ago, this kept you alive. In seat 8C, it is doing the opposite. Only one thing can break it, something the rational mind cannot provide. And there's something else. Directly to his left, 4 rows ahead, there is an exit sign. It is lit. It is visible. It is exactly where it should be. William Howard cannot see it. Not because of the smoke, not because of the darkness, because under extreme threat, the brain physically stops processing the edges of the visual field. All computational power redirects to the center. The periphery disappears. The world becomes a narrow tube. The exit sign is 6 feet to his left. His brain has erased it. Now look around the cabin. A passenger in row 12 looks at the person beside them. That person is sitting still. The unconscious conclusion is immediate. If they're not running, it must not be that bad. The person next to them thinks the same, and the one behind, and the one across the aisle. One frozen person creates 2. 2 creates 4. The stillness spreads faster than the smoke. Researchers call it collective inertia. Each person's hesitation reinforces everyone else's. The group locks into a feedback loop of inaction, a chain reaction running in reverse. Outside the aircraft, the first fire trucks are arriving. Firefighters pull hoses. Radios crackle. They can see the flames climbing the left side of the fuselage. They can see the smoke pouring from the rear of the cabin. They know people are inside. The first responders will later describe what they saw from the tarmac. A wall of black smoke. The aluminum skin of the aircraft beginning to buckle from the heat. And the exits, the 2 working exits at the front, with a thin stream of people still moving through them. Thin and getting thinner. The firefighters move toward the aircraft. But the protocol is clear. You do not breach a cabin during active evacuation. You do not send people in through the same door people are coming out of. You wait. You spray foam on the fuselage to slow the fire. You watch the exits, and you count. From the outside, there is no way to know how many people are still inside. There is no way to know who is moving and who has stopped moving. There is no way to know that in row 8, a man named William Howard is sitting completely still with his hands on the armrests. From the outside, all you can see is the smoke. And the smoke is getting thicker. Inside, the chemistry is about to arrive. Here is what the passengers who never stand up are feeling right now. Warmth, spreading from the chest outward. A heaviness in the limbs that feels almost like rest. A quiet settling, the way your body feels just before sleep pulls you under. Not panic, not pain, not the biological alarm of a body in danger. The opposite. When polyurethane seat foam burns, it releases hydrogen cyanide gas. Cyanide doesn't kill by suffocation. It kills by blocking your cells from using oxygen at all. Your lungs keep breathing, your heart keeps beating, but your cells are starving. And as the cyanide combines with the carbon monoxide already filling the cabin, the brain, the most oxygen-hungry organ in the body, receives a final, false signal. Stay. Rest. This is fine. The passengers who are already frozen, already locked in stillness by their own amygdala, are now receiving the same instruction from their own body chemistry. There is no moment of realization. The transition from frozen to unconscious to dead is seamless. Back in seat 8C, William Howard is breathing this air now. The smoke is at chest height. The calm spreading through the rear of the cabin is not calm. The people around him are going quiet, not because they've settled, because the air is taking something from them with every breath. He looks exactly like the people who will never leave. William has maybe 20 seconds before that same thing starts happening to him. And then, something hits him. Someone is climbing over the seats. Not walking, not pushing through the aisle, climbing. Hands gripping headrests, feet pushing off armrests, moving forward above the crowd. This person is not thinking about William Howard in seat 8C. They are thinking about one thing only, the door. And William is in the way. The impact is hard. A body crashes into his shoulder and chest. Not a tap, not an accidental brush. The full weight of a panicking adult moving fast. Pain. Sudden. Sharp. Real. Here is what happens in the brain at that moment. The freeze response is a loop. The amygdala locks the system, and the system stays locked. Because nothing is breaking the cycle, the loop runs, and runs, and runs. But a sudden, violent physical impact can break it. For a fraction of a second, the freeze breaks. William will later describe the next moment in 5 words. Like waking from deep sleep. 1 second he was watching his own death through glass. The next, a single thought cut through everything. If I don't stand up right now, I will die here. That thought was enough. He stands. The time is 7:14:02. He has 43 seconds. The aisle is blocked. A mass of bodies fills the narrow 50-centimeter corridor. Some moving, some are not moving at all. The pressure from behind has compressed the crowd into something that is no longer a queue. It is a wall. William doesn't try to join it. He climbs. Hands on headrests, feet on armrests, moving forward above the blocked aisle, above the crowd, above the people who are no longer moving at all. The time is 7:14:15. He has 30 seconds. The smoke is total now. No visibility, no exit signs, no landmarks. William is moving on feel alone. Left hand, right hand, left hand. Each headrest is a step forward. Each armrest is a place to push off from. But the heat is pressing down from above. The toxic layer is dropping. What was at ceiling height 30 seconds ago is now at the level of his shoulders. He cannot tell if he is moving in the right direction. He cannot see the door. He cannot see anything. And for a moment, just a moment, the loop tries to close again. The darkness, the heat, the absence of any landmark, the ancient code looking for a reason to stop. Then the voice cuts through. Somewhere ahead, close, single sounds, maximum volume, out, move, now. His brainstem locks onto it like a signal through static. That voice is the only thing in his world. He moves toward it. The time is 7:14:31. He has 14 seconds. 3 rows. 2, 1. He falls through door R1. Outside air hits him. Cold. Real. The tarmac rushes up. The time is 7:14:38. In 7 seconds, the air inside the cabin will be unsurvivable. William Howard lies on the ground outside Manchester Airport. Severe smoke inhalation. No burns. He will recover fully. He is one of the last people to make it out alive. Now consider what separated him from the 55 people still sitting in their seats. Not strength, not courage, not better instincts. One thing. Someone climbed over him at the right second. A random body moving through a burning cabin on its way to the door. An accidental collision. An impact nobody planned. That impact broke a neurological loop that nothing else could have broken in time. The person who saved William Howard's life almost certainly never knew they did it. They may not have made it out themselves. We don't know. What we do know is this. In the rows behind William, in the parts of the cabin where no random body crashed into anyone at the right moment, the passengers are still sitting, seat belts fastened, eyes open, waiting for something that will not come. The firefighters will find them exactly like this, exactly as they boarded, as if the flight never ended. The industry read the seating chart, and then it went to work. It stopped designing for the passenger who can think and started designing for the passenger who can't. Because Manchester proved one thing above everything else. In a real emergency, you cannot count on a passenger to think. So the industry stopped counting on it. Look at the floor of any commercial aircraft today. Running along the aisle, at carpet level, small lights, strips of them, leading toward the exits. They exist because in Manchester, people died trying to navigate upright in zero visibility smoke. The only breathable air was near the floor. But near the floor, there was nothing to follow. People crawled in the wrong direction. The floor lights don't ask you to think. They don't ask you to remember. They give you one thing, a line to follow. Now look at the emergency exit handles. Bright red, high contrast against the white fuselage. Not because red is the most visible color in normal conditions, because in a state of extreme stress, human vision narrows to a tunnel. The brain locks onto the highest contrast object directly ahead. A gray handle on a gray wall disappears. A red handle on a white bulkhead jumps out even through smoke. Every color choice in that cabin is a calculation about a brain that has stopped working properly. The seats were redesigned. The polyurethane foam replaced. New materials that release far less toxic gas when they burn. Not eliminating the danger, buying time. 20 seconds, maybe 30. In a 90-second window, 30 seconds is the difference between the exit and the seat you never leave. Every one of these seconds was calculated after the fact, by investigators who walked through the wreckage, who looked at the seating chart, who matched seat numbers to bodies and bodies to causes of death. The people who never stood up did not know they were 30 seconds away from surviving. They were not informed. They were not warned. They simply ran out of time while the industry was still learning what time meant. The space around emergency exits was widened. The 26-centimeter gap that created the arch effect in Manchester? Gone. New regulations made it physically impossible for two bodies to form a structural wedge that blocks the passage. Pilots were retrained on where to stop a disabled aircraft. Nose into the wind. Always nose into the wind. So the fire is pushed away from the fuselage instead of into it. So the single correct decision that killed 55 people never happens again. And the flight attendants. Before Manchester, they were trained to guide, to assist, to be courteous. After Manchester, they were trained to scream. In an emergency, the prefrontal cortex is offline. A polite instruction never arrives, but a single aggressive syllable at maximum volume bypasses the cortex entirely. It hits the brainstem. It reaches the amygdala not as language, but as an alarm. And for a fraction of a second, the amygdala releases its grip. In that fraction of a second, a command gets through. Go, move, out, now. And they push, physically, hard. They grab passengers by the shoulders and shove them toward the door. Because that random impact, that accidental collision, is exactly what saved William Howard. It wasn't planned. After Manchester, they made it planned. They built the accident into the training. Now think about the safety briefing. Your nearest exit may be behind you. That sentence exists because of Manchester. In a crisis, the brain moves forward, always forward, toward the door you came through. It doesn't consider that survival might require turning around. Count the rows to your nearest exit. Not a suggestion, a real recommendation from aviation safety researchers. In a smoke-filled cabin with zero visibility, you cannot search for an exit. You cannot form a new plan, but you can count. Counting lives in the basal ganglia, the part of the brain that stores habits, the part that keeps working when everything else has shut down. The amygdala can hijack your ability to think. It cannot hijack a habit. If you counted 4 rows before takeoff, that number is still there when the smoke comes. 1, 2, 3, 4, door. Every floor light, every red handle, every screaming flight attendant, every wider exit, every repositioned aircraft, all of it written in the 90 seconds on taxiway link Delta. All of it designed to work on a brain that has already gone offline. Now run it again. Same man, same seat, same smoke. But a different cabin, one that doesn't exist yet in 1985. One that will. The seats don't release cyanide. The warmth never comes. The quiet settling that felt almost like rest doesn't arrive. William Howard's body doesn't receive the signal to stay. The exit handle, 4 rows ahead, is red, high contrast against white. His tunnel vision, the same tunnel vision that erased the exit sign in 1985, locks onto it automatically. A flight attendant is already screaming, not guiding, not gesturing, screaming. One syllable at maximum volume. It reaches the brainstem before the amygdala can finish locking the system down. And for anyone already on the floor, a line of light. His fingers are still wrapped around the armrests. His knuckles are still white. The freeze response is still running, but the cabin doesn't need him to think. It already thought for him. The flight attendant grabs him by the shoulder and shoves. William Howard stands up. He has 73 seconds. But there is one thing they could not fix. Manchester happened 40 years ago. Every patch that could be patched, patched. Every protocol that could be rewritten, rewritten. Every material that could be replaced, replaced. We patched the plane. We did not patch the passenger. The brain that froze in seat 8C in 1985 is the same brain sitting in seat 8C today. Not one line of code has changed. The freeze response is still the first answer to a threat too large to process. The normalcy bias is still searching for a familiar explanation when reality stops making sense. The amygdala is still ready to hijack everything the moment the danger becomes too large to hold. All of it, still there, still running, still waiting. The industry spent 40 years building a cabin for a broken system. The system itself is still broken. But the brain that froze in seat 8C is not only on aircraft. It is in every room where the smoke is rising slowly, where the danger is real but the mind is still negotiating, where the people around you are sitting still and your oldest instinct is telling you to wait. Count the rows. Now, before the briefing ends, before the engines start, before the moment when counting becomes impossible. It takes 4 seconds. It is the one thing the engineers cannot do for you. The question is not whether you would move in a burning aircraft. The question is where else you are already sitting in seat 8C, and whether you are already waiting for something that will not come. The freeze response didn't evolve for aircraft cabins. It evolved for every moment when the threat is real, but not yet undeniable. When the people around you are sitting still, when the oldest part of you says, wait, it shows up in boardrooms, in hospitals, in relationships, in institutions that had every warning and did nothing. Well, you must have enjoyed the content if you made it here. Don't let the algorithm decide for you. Like and subscribe so you get more like this. I'll be waiting for you in the next one.